When you first started working with Buster, did you go to other studios too immediately, or was Buster something that you worked with solely for a period of time?
No, I recorded right after that. I recorded with everybody.
And who were your main connections? Who were the the players that you had the closest contact with?
At the time,
Yeah.
we had Drum Bagel, Roland Alfonso, Tommy McCook, Baba Brooks, Lloyd Brevet. And there was another guy they called Blues.
Mm-hmm.
He's a bass player.
Mm-hmm.
We had a guy who was Skatalites, and his name was Campbell. We had another guy named Ribs.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we had a guy Carl Bryan.
Mm-hmm.
He played alto. Lester Sterling.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Cloet Johnson. That's a bass player. Then Brevet, the bass player.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, those are quite a bit of guys there.
Of those people you mentioned, were there certain individuals that were like your close friends that you traveled with, that were your partners, good friends?
Well, pretty much I think we're tight, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, we're a tight team right there. Don Drummond was another one, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
We're a tight team. I think one of my closest buddies back then was Lester Sterling and Roland Alfonso, because actually Lester Sterling came from Virgins also.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Yeah, he came from Virgins too. So, yeah, as musicians, yeah. Richard Ace was another one.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Theophilus Beckford
Mm-hmm.
was one who hasn't gotten much recognition.
No, and the way he
Yeah.
passed away was so disgusting, really.
Right. Actually, there's another guy that hasn't gotten any recognition, and he played just between. I think they played the most. They did the most recordings were Richard Ace
Mm-hmm.
and Theophilus Beckford. Those two, they
Yeah.
played on quite a bit, and I don't think I can remember hearing Richard Ace's name mentioned. You know.
Yeah, you hear about him, but not incredibly.
All the toots and most of the toots and the metals, he
Mhm.
played keyboard on those, or piano on those, I should say.
As you're coming in and playing with the bands, were there other people playing the harmonica at all? Who else was there?
In the studios?
Yeah.
No.
No. As you were coming up and you were playing the harmonica, were there any guys, because the harmonica is a key instrument in mento music,
Right.
and so in the 40s and 50s, the harmonica would have been used for mento recordings. Were there any people that you looked up to? That were
There was a guy, and I cannot remember if he recorded, but there was a guy. He was a blind guy, and his name was Lenny.
Okay.
Yeah. There's another blind guy that came afterwards, which was Roy Richards.
Mm-hmm. What were the main bands, if you were to list them out, the main bands that you worked with, like as a member, I'll say? And is that is that a appropriate question?
The Skatalites,
Okay.
because the Skatalites had the greatest musicians there were.
Mm-hmm.
From Jamaica, you know. It was comprised of just about, well, actually the Skatalites in the studio was made up with all the great musicians, you know, like Tommy McCook, Roland Alfonso, Ernest Ranglin,
Mm-hmm.
Don Drummond, were all the great musicians.
Mhm.
So I would say that's my best experience. Now those guys I learned from. I listened to their styling, and it helped me to develop my music. I think one of our hangout points, we used to have a place on Charles Street that we hung out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
The musicians that I hung out with,
Mm-hmm.
you know. There was a little restaurant on Charles Street and Chancery Lane.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Chancery Lane. And we'd have lunch there. We'd hang out there, and there's somewhere in one of those corners we would hang out also. That was on Charles Street.
Mm-hmm.
Not so much in the studio area. I think the artist are more the guys would hang out in the studio area, like Studio One. More the
The
artists,
singers.
more than the musicians,
Ah,
singers.
okay.
Yeah.